there's a lot to go over this episode, so let's get to it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over, well, what progress has been made on the spaceship, and then we're going to get into the meat of the episode, which will include gathering some cobalt, because we are absolutely fresh out of resources. Well, cobalt in particular. We're fresh out of cobalt here, so we can't make any more of the metal grids for the heavy armor plate, which we will need a significant amount of when we clad the ship in it. Also, we're going to need the heavy armor plate for the spaced armor, which we're going to put on the ship. And in addition to that, we are going to try to refurbish that ship and grind away that ship. Probably not all in this episode, but that's the plan. So, as you can tell, well, I'm low on energy, so I'm going to hop in a ship and power back up. But as you can tell, there is now a button panel on the outside of the doorway, which is to cycle the airlock. Well, rather, it's to depressurize the airlock if you're on the outside. So, this is to depressurize the airlock, so we're going to click that, head on in, and then we have a button in here to pressurize the airlock, very similar to the system we have over there. And then we have a finished room here. So this is kind of what I had envisioned. We have some lockers, places for guns, places for weapons, ammunition, and then over here we have places for hydrogen tanks, oxygen tanks, grinders, welders, and hand drills. And then we have an air vent here just like before. However, when we go over here and look up, there is an interior turret looking over us, protecting us. So there's also here, this is meant to depressurize on and off in case somebody had gone through the airlock to depressurize it and someone's still on the inside and wants to pressurize it when they open the doors so it doesn't suck out all the air in this room. That's what that button is for. So let's head up before we head down. So on the top floor we have our medical room, which is connected to a conveyor here, so this will give us oxygen and hydrogen. And this is just a bathroom, but it is there. And it's a pretty neat part of the ship. I thought it's a good use of this space. Nope, those are asteroids, so that's just fine. Actually, that's really loud. I'm going to wait until those pass before I continue. Alright, well, the asteroids are all gone. I just realized I put these in upside down like a derp. I'll fix that. Anyhow, let's head actually up in the ship before we head down. I did do some work up here. Also, I did put in the jump drive, so we have no more superconductors. Well, we do have 60 superconductors, but I'm not going to tell you where I put the jump drive because, if this happens to make its way to the multiplayer server, I don't want people to know. Anyhow, this is now going to be the remote control area for the drones, and this is the drone bay. As you can see, there's a little observation deck. The drones are going to be parked to there, and there's a airtight door there. And the control stations for the drones are going to be over here. And it is sealed with a sliding door. So if we do have a breach, like a window's breached, it doesn't suck out all the air from down here. Alright. Then we can head down into the ship to take a look at the new CIC section, which is completed. Well, maybe not completed, but the first iteration of it is done. So here we have the CIC section, and we have a backup oxygen tank, we have a survival kit, just in case, and then these control stations are to control the guns specifically. There's a cargo container here, which I want to load up with hydrogen and oxygen tanks, as well as maybe some ammunition. There's some spare batteries, 3 of them to be precise. There is the main air vent. There is a backup air vent which is connected to the oxygen tank, so it's going to be really hard for this air vent to get disconnected from the other oxygen tanks back there. So this place should most of the time have oxygen, so long as the armor has not been breached. And there's also a backup gyroscope back here, and there is an interior turret protecting us. And the main drive seat, flight seat, is actually oriented in this direction, so when we fly it, it's like this. So that's the way that that's going to be. And I did armor this up a little bit thicker, as you can tell, because this is the CIC section. We don't want it to be breached. And also there's going to be spaced armor on the outside. I went into creative and took a version of this ship and kind of did it up the way that I want to. So I kind of know how I want the ship to look in the end, but we got to get there in creative or in survival. So that'll be the challenging part. So this is the engineering section, and as the engineering section doesn't, well, it isn't airtight, at least right now it isn't, I threw in an airlock. This is very similar to the airlock on the outside. However, it's on the inside of the ship. And there's an air vent there, there's a button there, there's another button here to depressurize it, and this one's just a toggle on and off. There's an interior turret here to defend the inside of the ship, and like I said, I took this, basically I copied this ship as it was, as a blueprint, and I took it into a creative world, and I decided to do some durability testing on it just to see where the spaced armor would need to be placed. And I actually found that this part of the ship right here is probably the most secure. Specifically, I found that the nuclear reactors almost never get damaged, which is honestly really good news. I also did change this up just a hair. I took away this block here so that we can get down in here, and I threw some gyroscopes down here. There's a little bit of empty space, so that has been filled with some gyroscopes. As you saw, I put some other gyroscopes in the other empty space in the engine pod. So that is that's the progress that we've made on this ship. In fact, one thing that I want to do is I want to take it for a shakedown run, because it no longer needs to be connected to anything. So we are going to disconnect it from its mooring, and we're going to take it for a little flight. So let's check, make sure there's nothing around us that's going to hit anywhere. Also, as you see, I put 2 decoys in the front too. Those are going to be heavily armored, and anything that wants to shoot us is going to be shooting some heavily armored decoys. So, okay, so there's one ship over there, and there's a ship over there. Oh, as you can see, I also brought the point of interest that from last episode. I brought that back to base by basically using the landing gear on the mining ship, and that was not a fun task because the mining ship is underpowered the way it is. Anyhow, let's unlock that. We should have a little bit of ice left in our H2O generator, so we should be okay to use some of the hydrogen up. It seems like it flies pretty well. Let's test the gyroscopes. I probably could use a few more. That's quite a bit of movement or quite a bit of mouse movement for not a lot of ship movement, so we might want to add a couple more gyroscopes to this. Yeah, the roll rate isn't the greatest. Let's take it out for a little speed run. It's actually decently quick. Let's see how fast it slows down. One thing that I do want to add eventually, and I believe I have enough components for, or I believe I have enough minerals, I should say, for it is I would like to put some ion thrusters on here. Just enough for backup in case the hydrogen system goes down. So let's slow this down. It actually slows down decently quick, not nearly as fast as it accelerates, but it's not too terrible, honestly. This is going to be a decent ship once it's finished. I wouldn't say that it's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with, say, a frigate, but it's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with definitely most survival builds, I would say. One thing that this does not have that I kind of wish I put in it would be automatic repair systems with welders to fix the critical systems such as, well, the engines and the point defense turrets. And because we have some uranium, I may switch out some of the point defense turrets with missile launchers, and I may just throw some missile launchers on the front of this. We will see. That all depends on the resources that we have. Alright, let's drift back in. Yeah, so I'm really liking how this ship is handling. It's definitely exceeded my expectations, and I think the expansion on the ship was much needed. It was going to be far, far, far too small and, quite frankly, useless without the extended nose. We basically doubled the length of it, but it was well worthwhile. Let's try to get this a little closer. And it seems to have a decent range, too. We only used up maybe 6-7% fuel. I think one thing that we would like to put on here, or in here, I should say, is in the drone bay. I think we'll have a mining drone that we can use to harvest ice. Alright. Oh, also, as you saw from the outside view, there is a connector now, which we can use to fill the cargo containers with ice, and we can use that to break down into hydrogen to fuel the ship. Alright, let's make sure that's okay. Depressurize that. Alright. We no longer need this landing gear, so I'm going to remove it. The only reason it was there was to keep the ship in one place as it didn't have motors, but now that it's fully functioning, we can replace that with armor. And we can put a point defense cannon in here. Or possibly a missile turret. Yep, so this is what we can use to fill up the ship with ice now. And yes, as you can see, I have all of my uranium on my inventory, as that's not a smart thing to do. But I was fiddling around with the ship, and I had powered it up and threw in a bunch of uranium, and then I took a bunch of uranium out as I was working on it. There's not much uranium left in there, as you saw. Not too many hours worth of fuel, but enough for a test flight. As we stated earlier, we are fresh out of cobalt, so we are going to have to grab some cobalt over there with our mining ship. Make sure that this thing has enough power, and it does, so we're going to unlock the landing gear, and we're going to go off on a mining adventure to grab some cobalt so that we can continue the work on this ship, specifically armoring up the outside of the ship with some heavy armor plate. So let's head on in the direction of the cobalt. One other thing that we might want to pick up is some ice, as we are relatively low on that right now, and that ship is going to suck through ice pretty quickly if we use it a little bit more. So we're going to have to get some ice in those cargo containers. Alright, well, you know what? I'll meet back with you guys when we are at the asteroid. Alright, well, we have arrived. Let's turn on our spotlight and our ore detector. I believe it's just in this crevice here hiding. Well, there's some ice, but we are not here for the ice. We're here to fill up our cargo container with cobalt. We could use the ice, definitely, but we're here for the cobalt. I think this is not the correct way. The other the other way in is how we get to it. Yep, there's another entrance over here that's a little bit easier to access the cobalt. Let's head on in. There we go. Try not to do it too quickly. Don't want to damage our ship at all. Alright. Let's gather up some of this. Make sure that our connector is not turned to throw out everything. Perfect. And let's get some cobalt. I believe we've used this ore vein before. It's just not tapped out yet. And hopefully we'll be able to completely fill up our inventory, and that'll give us enough cobalt to finish our project, I think. The ship shouldn't require, well, it will require a decent amount of cobalt to finish, but it shouldn't be more than what's in this ore vein here. Let's gather up some of this. Let's take a look at our inventory, make sure we're not over full. Oh, the container has a little bit to go yet. We're actually getting a lot of stone, but that's to be expected. Try to get more of that cobalt, though. 40,000 cobalt should be enough for quite a few of those metal grids. Okay. I can feel the ship get real sluggish, so I'm going to turn off the grinders, or I should say the drills. Okay, yeah, even the industrial cockpit has some stone in it. It's not quite full, but it's almost full. 60,000 cobalt. That's going to keep our refineries busy for a while, that's for certain. And then a decent amount of stone as well. We'll get some iron and nickel from that, which I think we're okay on iron. Currently, I have our assemblers making about 10,000 steel plates right now, which by my calculations still won't be enough to finish the ship, but it'll be a good start. By my calculations, let's see here, it'd be over 20,000, maybe a little bit more steel plates to finish the outside skin of the ship, because we're going to be completing it in the heavy armor plate, and then the spaced armor, we will be using the hangar doors as well as the half blocks of the heavy armor plate for the spaced armor. And maybe we'll give you a little taste of what that's going to look like. I think there's one place on the ship where we can at least sketch it out for you guys, what the spaced armor is going to look like. It really is very effective for stopping incoming missile rounds and projectiles from damaging specifically the skin and the hull of the ship. And because this ship is not, well, it's not a frigate in design, it's going to need all the armor it can get, because the skin of the ship is relatively thin, all things considered. And we don't want the conveyor system to be damaged, because if the conveyor system is damaged, the thrusters are going to go offline. Anyhow, I think that's enough talk for now. I'll meet back with you guys when we're at home base. We have arrived back at base. We're about to dock and deposit our ores. Let's make sure our artificial horizon is right towards level. Looks like the gravity from our other ship is throwing it off. Whoops, a little bit too close there. spin around. Alright, we're about where we need to be. Back up. And adjust. Whoop, other way. To get level. Now we're level and just a little bit back. There we go. And let's connect to that. Okay. And let's make sure everything's going where it needs to go. Looks like it's already moving. I'm going to hide the empties and throw all this stuff in the refinery if I can find it. Throw this in this refinery and throw the cobalt in the other one. There we go. And there's some stone in there. We'll throw the stone in another refinery. That one? Is that all of it? Looks like it. Perfect. And this will give us enough cobalt. Speaking of which, looks like we are missing iron? I thought we had enough iron for that. Perhaps we do not. Let's take a look at our inventory and look at the refinery. Yeah, looks like we don't have any iron. None left, at least. But once we refine that stone, we'll get some. Also looks like we could use some more oxygen. So let's hop on out of here. Grab an oxygen bottle. Oops, that's not how you spell oxygen. There we go. Pop that in there, throw that in there. Actually, put that in an oxygen tank. Hydrogen's still all good. Well, we actually have some metal grids. That's right, I had made some. And I just never used them. Cool. Well, we do have some metal grids we can use to start finishing that. But before we do that, I would like to kind of show you what I'm thinking about for spaced armor. So for that, we're going to grab some iron. And for spaced armor, we need a... Whoop, that's not it. That's it, the blast door. I need a blast door. And some heavy armor block. Whoops. Specifically, we're going to need this heavy armor block. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the edges, put them here and there, and we'll weld those up. And then we will take the half block and kind of do this. And basically what spaced armor does, if you are unfamiliar with it, is a round that is incoming. Instead of hitting the skin of the ship, it's going to hit this. Whoops. It's going to hit this, which is going to be all completed and filled in. It'll hit the armor right here and leave the skin of the ship untouched. At least that's the theory behind it. And judging by testing, it really does work quite effectively. And it works against point defense cannons as well. And it does work against like ships that are ramming you, not to the best extent, as the half armor blocks are not that good for blocking an incoming ship, but they are really good against incoming weapons fire. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to cover the critical parts of our ship in this type of armor. In addition, we're going to probably add a little bit around the point defense cannons. So that is the idea behind spaced armor. This is not the final design. It's probably going to actually be closer towards the center and cover the largest mass of the ship. And then same thing on the top, basically on all sides. However, on this side, I'm not sure how to deal with that because I want it to be symmetrical with that. But there is a door there, so we're going to have to figure out some way to make that work. But I am completely confident that we will. So, I think that's going to be it for that. Let's take a look at this ship. We can start laying some of the blocks down to complete it. So we're going to need an ion thruster, I know that much, some light armor blocks, probably some light armor slopes. Not entirely sure, but it's always good to have them. It's going to need a gyroscope and a small reactor. It has an ore detector. And luckily, I actually built one of these ships not too long ago, so I kind of know how they're supposed to go. There's going to be a thruster there to make it symmetrical with that. Looks like they removed 2 of the thrusters. In fact, they removed all 4 thrusters. There should be 4 thrusters right here. 1 there and 1 there. And then on this side, where this antenna is, which we're going to grind away, there should be 2 thrusters. And it looks like we ground away a bit too much, but that's okay. We'll add some components to here. There we go. Now we should be able to pick this up. Almost. There's actually quite a lot in there. Get those large steel tubes, put them in here. Needs the tubes anyways. There we go. Okay. So we're going to need 2 more of the ion thrusters. And what are we looking at here? This is an H2O generator, so 2 thrusters, refinery assembler. We're going to need a hydrogen tank and an oxygen tank for this to work. And we're going to need a nuclear reactor. The nuclear reactor used to be there. I'm not sure if we're going to keep it there. I don't think having a nuclear reactor by the toilet is the smartest idea, so we may relocate that to the outside. It's going to be a little bit tight for space, though. So let's look at the tanks. We're going to need an oxygen tank. We'll replace that. And we need a small hydrogen tank. We'll replace that. And we'll probably also need... Okay, I have all that stuff. The conveyor tubes. Okay. I'm going to deposit some of our inventory right now, as we are relatively full. Let's get rid of those radio components. That's really the largest thing that's taking up most of our space. Let's hide the empties, and I need some steel. There we go. Perfect. Well, it looks like we're also missing a thruster up front. Should fix that. Okay. Looking good. It's got the up, it's got the down, it's got the side to side. Oh, we're missing an up over here. Nope, I put those in the wrong spot. So we need the thruster facing up here, and this one like that. And I believe like that. Is that symmetrical? That is symmetrical. Perfect. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to throw the gyroscope here. And the reactor and, well, the tanks are going to go here. Let's deposit some of the metal so I can grind away. Okay. Let's grind this away. So, conveyor to the cargo container. We're going to have to keep... Let me ponder this for a moment. Alright, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to have our oxygen tank there, our hydrogen tank here. Underneath, we're going to have a conveyor junction, which I already built. And then we're going to have a curved conveyor tube go from the oxygen tank to the to the conveyor junction. And then from here, we're going to need another conveyor junction and then yet another conveyor junction so that when this is completed, it can go for, there will be a curved tube to the conveyor junction over here. So let's see if we have enough to complete this.
Energy low.
No, we do not. We need some things yet. And we're running low on energy, but that shouldn't be a problem. We will want some of these. Yeah, we are running really low on the old components right now. Do we even have any interior components? I'm not sure that we do. Well, we have plenty of steel plates. We don't need that right now. Interior plates. I know we need some. Let's look. Nope, we are out of interior plates. So, well, we're not going to be able to complete it, but at least we know what it's going to take to finish it. And I suppose we don't even have a reactor back here, do we? That is something we're going to want to place. So that's going to be used up. So what we can do is we can place the reactor up here so that it's connected to the conveyor, and yet we can still access it from the outside. Alright, there we go. Perfect. Now we can probably just repair some of the damaged blocks here. And then see what we need to replace. There's going to be a couple of missing blocks, like one right there.
Critical.
Yep, I suppose I do need to address my energy situation. Okay, let's go power up somewhere. So I think it shouldn't take too much to at least finish the skin of that ship. That we can certainly do this episode. And then we'll have yet another yellow survival pod. Alright, that's enough energy for now. Let's take a look. Yes, we have enough steel plates to finish this, I do believe. Except for the ion thrusters, we don't have enough components for that right now. Let's get the correct paint color. I believe that's the correct paint color. Whoops, that is not correct. Get that placed there. And how do we have this one? Okay, so there's a block down there. So we'll have to complete it from the inside. That's no problem. Okay, so... Okay, it's just a straight armor angle block. There we go. Then we'll be able to finish the outside up top. There we go. Looking good. And I believe we're just missing one angle corner over here. There we go. All fixed up. Now we just have to fix up a couple of these blocks here. And I think we'll be good. Alright, there we go. Now let's head on into the inside and finish up the blocks here, which shouldn't take too much. Okay. So I think that's just 2 straight blocks. Okay, so there's an angle there, so it angles inwards. And it's going to be black in color. So it's going to follow that. Okay, got it. I believe it's this color, black. There we go. And this will go here, but it's going to be that color. Okay, I think that's about it. At least the outside of the ship is finished. And all we have to do is finish refining that so we can gather up the components needed to finish this. So, well, that was a productive episode. I hope you like how this ship is coming along so far. If you have any ideas for it, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I always read them. Yeah, I think that'll be it for this episode. Thank you folks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.